Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. And in this update, we are going to check out XRP's price chart and in like very short term in this area. In today's video, I'm going to show you a bullish and at the same time a bearish possibility. And then I'm going to tell you which one might be the case and how exactly can we argue, are we going to go from here up or down? Now, if you remember in the previous video, we were right around this high and the idea was that most likely this is a 1 2 3 4 5 wave down, probably into an A leg, and then the current move up might be a correction for wave B. And what are we going to have next? We said another beautiful impulse on the downside into our C leg. Now, question is, can we argue from this point to about the lowest low we are having a 5 wave down? Maybe, and here is how I can argue that. I can say this is our wave 1 correction structure into wave 2, and then maybe like 1 2 3 4 5 wave down into wave 3 to about this low, correction for 4, probably a flat structure, and yet another move on the downside into our wave 5. Now, is this enough for me to call this point the low of our correction in XRP and say from here we're going to go up? The answer is no. And if you are a regular viewer, you know what I'm about to say. If you want to argue, we're going to have our final low around this region. Maybe this is like a very important support. Then, okay, you need to be able to find off of the lowest low a 1 2 3 4 5 wave up. This specific example is an impulse. Rules for it are we should not have overlapping of the waves between wave 2 and 4, and in any kind of 5 wave, wave 3 should not be the smallest wave. And in terms of the sub waves, you know the story. 5 wave up into wave 1 3 and 5. There we go. And for wave 2 and 4 we can have different counts. Let's say, yeah, sure, A B C D E, a triangle into our wave 4. Where is it? Okay, A, B, C, D, E, and yes, a WXY into wave 2. Now let's go on the live charts and see what is going on. And maybe it's best for us to go on 15-minute time frame because, you know, I'm just doing this for the sake of educational purposes. In my own time, I rarely go on such lower time frames. So can we argue this is one, probably an A, B, C flat to about this point into wave 2, 5 wave up into wave 3, maybe like a triangular structure into wave 4, and yet another move on the upside into wave 5? The answer is yes. So this is definitely an optimistic sign suggesting maybe the low is in. Do not get me wrong, but question, what needs to happen after an impulsive structure? You know it. If we are looking bullish and optimistic, we have to be able to identify a corrective movement. And one very important characteristic of that is being quite a slow and choppy move on the downside. And so far, this is rather a strong move up. So I would like to suggest in XRP, just wait a little bit more and see, are we going to do something like this? This might be 5 down into a correction for wave B and another move down into wave C. And at that point, yeah, you know what, fair enough. This is a correction structure and you need to wait a little bit more and see a move up in order to take the height of our B leg. If we do this, that can be a great sign indicating the low is in and it's now time to go up. On the other hand, if we see a continuation of this move down, and for example, sure, this is 5 wave down, but this time might be into a wave 1 correction for 2, and then we're going to have another move down into wave 3 for 5. That is not going to be an optimistic sign. And at that point, I think we may actually go to all the way down here about like $2.2, $2.1. Is that going to be such a bad sign? No, in my opinion. As long as we are not taking this low about $2, I think we are allowed to remain optimistic and interpret any kind of move down as a correction structure according to our primary scenario, which says most likely after this phase is over, we are going to have a massive move up. And in it, I'm really hoping that this time we are going to get a break of this important cluster of resistance areas between $2.5 to about $2.8. And at that point, you know the deal. The target is going to be at least setting an all-time high and taking the highest high somewhere around $3.5. But I definitely believe we are going to go quite a bit higher than that. Now, let's talk about a potential bearish scenario in the short term, indicating we are going to get a move down and we are going to reach to about this region, about $2.1. Okay, in that case, I am still going to say this is a 1 2 3 4 5. Now it's actually going to be into a potential C leg of an A, B, C running flat. And well, this might be from this high to about here, 5 down into 1, correction for wave 2. And what are we going to have next? Yet another move down into wave 3, 4, 5. And this white 5 wave down, at that point, it's going to be into our wave 5, and it's time to get a move up. Can we have another bearish count? Yes. You can say maybe the end of this ABC zigzag was actually right in here, and this can be an ABC running flat, and this time this is not going to be a 5 wave down. No, instead it's going to be an ABC completing the subwaves on a higher degree for, you know what, a WXY in form of a double zigzag. This is also left. And again, the point that I'm trying to make is this: in XRP, in my opinion, there's a good chance we are having a correction structure down as long as we are not taking this low. About the shape of it, we can have many different possibilities. It's not really that important. The main question is, how can we identify the bullish from the bearish scenario in the short term and argue this is, or maybe isn't, our final low? I think at the moment we need to pay very close attention to what is happening in terms of indicators. Let's go on H1 time frame. Okay, what is going on? As you can see in RSI, we are having, starting from here, a series of higher lows. And in MACD, I guess, yes, you can argue the same is happening, but on the live chart, we are actually having a series of lower lows. So I'm trying to tell you, look, this is a great bullish divergence, which, you know what I'm about to say, by itself is a great sign indicating in XRP maybe the trend has changed and the final low is already in. However, the moment that we see XRP getting a break of the divergence line, at that point, most likely we are going to continue our move down in quite a sharp way. Why? Because the moment that you get a break of the divergence line, that is in most cases at least going to translate to some sharp moves on the up and also at the same time on the downside. But as long as we are not breaking this line, I think we are good to go up in XRP. So let's have a quick conclusion and wrap up today's video. Overall, in Ripple, as long as we are not taking this low about $2, I think we should remain bullish and optimistic. Now, whether in the short term the final low is in or not, that can be up for debate, and it's absolutely fair enough to say maybe the low is not in yet. Now, if you want to argue that, I think you need to pay full attention to what is happening in terms of indicators and specifically RSI in 1 hour time frame. Sure, this is a bullish divergence, which is a great sign, but if we get a break of the divergence line, at that point you need to count most likely on this scenario, this ABC structure on the downside to play out, which a decent target for it can be all the way down here about like 2.1 to about $2.2. On the other hand, if you want to say from here we're going to go up, okay, what you need to see is this: a rather strong move up, a 1 2 3 4 5, followed by a consolidation pattern and yet another move up in order for you to be able to argue, look, this is 1, this is 2, 3, 4, 5, which is a fantastic sign indicating the low is already in. And around this high, by the way, is not going to be a long opportunity for you. No, you need to wait a little bit more for a consolidation pattern. And right around the end of this pullback, we are going to make new updates and see what is happening, because that might be actually a good long opportunity. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in XRP's charts. Anyway, if you found any value in my content, I would really appreciate if you like this video and consider subscribing to my channel and follow me on Twitter. And if you want more, maybe you want a complete analysis for your own specific crypto, or maybe you want to learn some decent TA in order to be able to make good money in the markets, you can become a member and ask me anything you want. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time. Goodbye.